Hello, spooky friends. Man, why does it feel like it's been ages since I have filmed a video? Maybe because it has, I guess. I don't know. Alright, so this video is going to be 6 horror movies involving children. So, I'm not going to talk about the infamous one, you know, Hocus Pocus. No. These are more chilling films, and they are older films. Well, a few of them maybe came out around that same time frame. Maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, let's get to it. So, and please forgive my voice and the way that I look, but I have been dealing with some very serious sinus issues going on, and it's making me crazy. Yeah, it's been terrible, but everyone else around me is dealing with the same stuff, so I think it's just this time of year. Yes, I look like I just crawled out of bed, because really, I did. Okay, so, let's move on. So, first up we have Rosemary's Baby. Oh, Rosemary's Baby is a gem of a movie. I highly recommend it. It is an older film, but it is a classic. So this woman and her young husband, well, she's young too, but they're newlyweds. They get married. They move into this like shady kind of rundown apartment building. They get to know the neighbors, who turn out to be demons, who turn out to inflict her husband with some sort of demon seed, and she ends up carrying a demon child. It's just a really good movie. It is a little slow at the beginning, and then like halfway through it picks up, and then once it picks up it doesn't stop. It keeps going. The sequence where she's actually like conceiving the child is extremely creepy, and I remember seeing it as a teenager for the first time, and it just weirded me out, like big time weirded me out. So I highly recommend Rosemary's Baby. Next is the Omen series. Oh Lord, that's, yeah. Scary child. And he does like some really weird and creepy shit, but it's a good movie. It really is. Check out my mug I got for Christmas. Not a day over fabulous. So true. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Children of the Corn. Of course, how could I not talk about horror movies including children and not talk about Children of the Corn? Now, I have a backstory about Children of the Corn, and you're probably like, oh God, really? Okay, so the house I grew up in, back in the day, I don't want to say when, give my age away, but it was a very long time ago. The area that I lived in was like this small little country town, but now it is like very overpopulated. Yeah, don't get me started. Anyway, so there was nothing around really. I mean, there was a few houses, but they were miles from each other. Across from my house was a gigantic cornfield. And I remember always, even as a kid, always having the feeling as soon as I stepped out of the front door that I was being watched all the time. Like if I was playing outside, or even just coming in from like the driveway, and there was a long gravel driveway. So just coming from the car to the house, like with groceries or whatever, I always felt like I was being watched. And I told my mom this, and my mom was just like, oh, it's just in your head. My mom was never into the paranormal, so. So I was just like, okay, well, you know, I'm nuts. We all know this. But, so I just grew to become immune to it. Like, I was just used to feeling that way. I knew I was going to feel that way, so whatever. Well, my bedroom window also faced the cornfield. So I would always have my blinds drawn and the curtains closed, and my mom would come in and open it up, and she's like, why do you have it looking so dark in here? Why do you need it so dark? Blah, 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 blah. I didn't want to tell her it's because I feel like somebody's watching me. So, because I knew she would just say it's in my head. So I was just like, I don't know. I hate the sun. I'm a vampire. Get away. But anyway, so I didn't know that Children of the Corn even existed. And it did. It did. Until I got into middle school. And a friend of mine was like, one day at school, she was like, aren't you scared all the time in your house because of the cornfield? And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's corn. Like, why would I be afraid of corn? And she was like, you know, like Children of the Corn, that movie. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you've never seen Children of the Corn? And suddenly, like, the whole class is looking at me. And I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, you have to see it. So somehow ended up at her house for the weekend because she refused to come to mine. We went and we watched Children of the Corn. It scared the bejesus out of me. And I keep in mind, I always had that feeling somebody was watching me. And so I was like in my head convinced that there were these evil creatures that lived in that cornfield across the street. And they would only come out at night. But during the day, they would watch me. But at night, they would like they would watch me, but they were invisible. And then at night they would come visible and they would like eat the corn. And then they would eat like anything that came into the cornfield. They ate it, like small squirrels and chipmunks or whatever. If it came into the cornfield, like they would eat it. Like I was convinced this really was a thing. Okay. Even into my teenage years, I still thought it was a thing. Even when they would harvest the corn, like I was so scared, like they would harvest the corn and then like it would piss the creatures off. So they would like come up out of the ground or something and kill all the farmers. And yeah, it was very traumatic. Okay, so moving on. So next we have The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Lord, what a good movie. Ugh. Okay, so the beginning is a little slow, yes. But it is so intense and so twisted. I love it. And back then, you know, this was before like the whole Me Too movement and, you know, sexual abuse was not really front and center like it is today. I think that they should, like, the streaming services should be streaming this movie because it could really happen in today's society. Like, back when it came out in the early 90s, I would have said, nah, you know, that's pretty far-fetched. But today, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, the whole story. I mean, it's just one big twisted story. The lady pretends to be the nanny after, you know, the wife gets abused and from her doctor, and it turns out that that's the doctor's wife, and she, you know, wants the baby inside the lady, and so she tries to kill her and kill the whole family, and yeah, it's just really messed up. It is an awesome thriller. I highly recommend it. So for the next one, I'm going to talk about one that I didn't know existed until I saw it on Turner Classic Movies. Thank you, TCM. And I was like, oh my God, this movie is... Why did I not know this existed before? It's creepy, it's twisted. I have to talk about this movie and get it out there. So it's called It's Alive, and it came out in 1974. And so here's the synopsis of it. So, after giving birth to her baby in the hospital, a young woman and her husband soon discover their newborn child is a ferocious monster. It's very strange. It's slow. The effects are horrible. The acting is terrible. But the storyline is really good and creepy and twisted. And the woman keeps caring for the child, even though it's this ferocious monster. She keeps caring for it. It's just, oh man, yeah. It's one of those that I can't really put it into words exactly. Like, you just have to see the movie. I highly recommend it if you can find it. I have not found it on any streaming services. You might be able to find it here on YouTube. I'm not sure. But like I said, I happened to just come across it from Turner Classic Movies. So definitely check it out. It came out in 1974. Next up is another oldie but a goodie that I didn't know exist. But again, thank you, Turner Classic Movies, for turning me onto it. And it is 1956's The Bad Seed. So, the mother of a cherub 6-year-old girl searches for an explanation to the mounting number of mysterious deaths surrounding her adorable daughter. There's light comedy, excellent acting, suspense. It raises the question, are killer children hereditary, or does their environment play a role? Very interesting. There's plot twists and a very surprise ending. So with that question, that is something that I have wondered for years. What do you think? Do you think that killers as children, like something, are they born that way? Like, is there something that just makes them born that way? Or is there something that happens to them later in life to make them turn into a killer? I want to know what you think. So let us know down in the comments section below what your thoughts are. And if you have any comments about these movies that I have just spoken of, let us know down in the comment section below. So also stay tuned for some more good stuff coming up from this channel and also my second channel, Miss Lottie Da. But on this channel, coming up next is going to be a segment that I'm going to start doing called Indiana True Crime. And it is just that. I'm going to talk about some stories that are legit true crime happening here in Indiana. So if you're interested, tune into that. It's going to be more like kind of podcast style. Not going to be really a lot to see or anything, just mostly listening to the story. So, all right, so stay tuned, and I'm going to continue to drink my coffee, and hopefully I don't lose my voice again today. And just in case I do get even more sick than what I am now with this sinus stuff, videos might be delayed. Just hang in there. They're coming. I promise. All right, that's going to do it for now. So remember, stay spooky, my friends.